Ed Randazzo, how are you, sir?
I'm snowed in at the moment.
Are you really?
Oh yes.
Where are you at now?
Erie. I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, right at the tip of the chimney of the state
Oh boy,
on a map.
how much snow are you sitting in right now?
At least 4 feet.
4 feet.
At least.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about that. Whole yeah, you guys got that lake effect snow, right?
Yes, yes, we did.
Oh
But you know
man.
what? We were overdue because the last two winters were pretty green. So this is Mother
Okay.
Nature coming back and making up for it, I think.
Making up for it, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I would never want to be snowed in ever, especially with 4 feet. I remember in 2017 we got about 2 feet here in NEPA, and that was too much for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice when the kind of world slows down a bit, but I don't know. I mean, are you able to get out of your house? Like, what's that?
Yeah, we are, but living with a disability, this is the time of year where my anxiety goes up a little bit because
Right,
I'm cautious the way it is on dry ground, and then now it's like now I have to compete with
right.
ice and the possibility of slipping and falling. So
Yeah.
my
Just
anxiety
stay,
is like off the charts.
just stay inside.
I'll keep myself safe, John.
Yeah. Relax. Make some hot
Yeah,
cocoa.
and we've done it.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Good.
lot of that going around now.
Good. Well, it's been I don't think that we have ever talked at length. I mean, do you remember the first time we kind of met for more than like 5 minutes?
No, because you and I were on our way somewhere. Like you were on your way. It was like, it's like in school passing in the hallway. Like, hey, John, hey, Ed. And we'd always make sure and check in with each other, but it was never, longer than a couple minutes.
Well, do you remember the I think it was Wednesday or Thursday nights at Bruise Brothers 12 years ago?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Is that where we first met and started talking
Well, I
shop?
mean, at least like, a moment where we talked at length. But we were busy judging a contest, so it wasn't like,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
and
Oh
now
my God. The karaoke contest.
the karaoke contest. Yes.
I just remembered that.
Yes, sir. If I could only find, I went and found um some photos of that.
Oh no.
Oh, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Uh,
This is your life.
can you see this? Or no?
Yes, I can.
There's me, you. Is that Kathy in the background?
Oh, I'm just seeing the file names right now.
Oh, you don't see. Jeez,
That's all right,
that's
dude.
that's not good. You think I'd be better at this? This is like probably the first or second time I've tried sharing something.
That's
That's
all
not
right.
working. You see the file names, but not the sharing a
Yeah, I
screen.
wonder.
So why won't this like open?
My
What the heck?
gosh, I totally forgot about that. That we were the judges of that contest.
Yeah, everyone can see. Oh, are you still seeing?
Yeah, still seeing just the file names.
Come on. Okay.
And even if you click on it, it's not showing anything.
Yeah. What the heck, man? Why is this doing this? Okay, I'm gonna stop the share there. Uh, here.
Yeah, that was like 2010.
Is that working?
Oh, look, there we are.
There we go. This is
Yes.
2012, September-ish.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's
That
not even,
seems like that seems like a different time,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Yep. There's more.
Wow.
Hold on. I'm only doing this because again, this is, how we first kind of really met.
Oh my God, you have such a good memory. Just I didn't connect that dot.
I do. It's a
at
blessing and a
all.
curse. It's a blessing and a curse, this
I
memory that we
was
have.
I was flattered that you all asked me to be on that panel.
I mean, I don't think I asked. I just was just I mean, it wasn't like I didn't put it together. It was something I think that Bruise Brothers did.
Yeah, and then I mean, we were together for quite a while. It was like 7 weeks or something. It
Yeah, it
went
was a
on for
lot of weeks.
quite a while.
Yeah.
It was fun though. I remember it was a lot of fun.
Now you'd think that I'd be able to repeat this, but no. How would I be able to? This is terrible. This is terrible. Well, it's just another picture of the a moment from those weeks. Uh,
Awesome.
Probably more incriminating for me. I definitely looked like I had a few drinks, but we had to.
Oh, I definitely
So,
back then have had a few
some
drinks.
of the talent was good. Some of it was questionable.
Yeah, I was just flattered that the community thought so highly of me to even have me. It's like I don't belong on this panel. But then as it went on, I thought, all right, I'm comfortable in this position.
Well, I mean, if anyone should not have been there, it was me. I mean, I have zero. Um, I mean, I don't play a musician. I don't or musician. I don't play an instrument. I don't write music. Um, yeah, if anyone, it was definitely me. That should not have been there.
Well,
But it was fun. We had a good
the
time.
three, the three or four, I think there was maybe four of us on that panel, but
Yeah, me, you, Kathy, and what was her name? Janine
oh, Janine
Basant or something.
the local TV station in Hazleton.
Yes, SSP TV or something.
Yes, that's where I first met Janine too.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like she pieced out earlier than we did. I feel like she was like on the panel and then the last like 3 weeks, it was one of the bartenders, Gersh, that was hanging out with us.
Oh yeah.
But
And then I caught up again with Janine right before I moved to Erie, and they did a really nice piece on Brett and myself
oh, very cool.
as a nice
Yeah,
send off.
yeah. So you have not I mean you've kept busy. Just released a new album. Wishing on a
Yes.
Train was back in August.
Yeah, the last day of August. Yeah.
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 Um, Great album. Great album.
Thank you so much.
Um, how long was that in the works for?
I mean, looking back on it now, it was probably 3 years total from gestation to final, physical thing. It's right here.
Yeah, I
So
meant to grab my
3
copy because you were so nice to send me one, and I'm a bit of a mess tonight. My kids went to bed late and then just put me behind. But yeah,
it's all good. But yeah, I'm most proud of this project, definitely. I feel like if anybody was to if anybody didn't know who I was or wasn't familiar, I'd say pop this on.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
what would you like define yourself as far as genre goes? Because with this album, I definitely hear blues, and I think you've kind of have had a lot of blues music released, but it's not all blues, in my opinion.
No, it isn't. It's a it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I actually don't mind that um category because I there's a little bit of everything in there, and it's like I look at it as a big pot of soup, and we're just stirring it and stirring it. But I think with this release, the blues are very much in the forefront this time, like on purpose. It seems like it was an unconscious thing, and I wasn't really thinking about it to the point of overthinking, but then everything just fit really well together as a complete body of work.
Hmm. Can I tell you my favorite song?
Sure.
Favorite song off the record is Black Boys on Mopeds.
And why would you say that that pops out?
I don't know. I think it was just a really beautiful song. I mean, lyrically it's really good. Um kind of paints an interesting picture. But just musically and vocally, I just like the whole thing together.
Yeah, I would say that that's a pretty special piece of music, and it was an honor to record that with Brett. And Brett's playing on it is, I think, extraordinary. It's so tender, and
Mhm.
there's a warmth in his like the piano and the guitar, the way they meld together. It's really beautiful. I remember when I first heard the finished master, it really moved me because at first I told him, I said, I'm not sure this is up to snuff with the rest of the record. And he said to me, he said, Ed, you're crazy. This is the your best vocal.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So
he said, I need you to, when we were finishing up, he said, I need you to back away from it for a little while. And I did. And then when I came back, he said, I told you, you know, I told you, but you were trying to fight me.
yeah.
But it was an honor to put it down because it's one of it's a Sinead O'Connor original song, and I just have such an admiration for her, and it was such a tragedy that she left us when she did. The interesting thing about the recording is when we put this down, she was still alive.
Hmm.
So listening back to it now in retrospect, I'm always reminded in that recording, she's still with us.
I didn't realize that that was her.
Yes, indeed.
So it's a cover. Okay.
Yeah.
Still beautiful nonetheless.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is. It's a really and I toyed when I was coming up with sequencing, it it originally wasn't in the front part of the record, but when I finally heard it, I was breathless and I thought, well, this has to go toward the front. It's heavy, and I thought, well, putting it toward the front might turn some people away because of the subject matter, but I think it fits really well where it is.
yeah. Now,
Thank
have you
you
done a
very
lot of
much.
covers?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I try to do them because I think John, I think it's important to honor the singer-songwriters that have inspired me to write. So it seems pretty normal for me to include songs, like Sinead, and there's a Natalie Merchant song on here as well. So I think, and people that really know me that have been with me for years, they know that I admire Natalie and Sinead and REM. So I feel like this record is very balanced in a sense of it feels like a debut in a
Hmm.
way. Even though it's my fourth record, it feels like the first record.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
You got a lot of
does.
music out there, and I think it's kind of cool. Like, you really put your own style on it. So again, I wouldn't even know a lot of these are covers because they're not exactly the same as the original, which is kind of cool.
Oh, thank you so much. It's always a little taxing, when you're going to take on a cover. It's like, oh, well, people know that I love this artist. Am I, do I have enough within me to reinterpret this piece without totally dismantling it so that it's unrecognizable? And so I don't know. I just always have followed my gut with with choosing covers, and hopefully everything melds together well. I think with this project more than any other one, as a body of work, as I said, I'm most proud of it. It feels seamless to me, and it's the one that I listen to the most. I think, well, because it's fresh too. It just came out.
Yeah. Ed, can I pause for 1 second?
Yes,
Really sorry. 1 second.
by the way, on everything,
Oh, what? My headaches?
just all of the successes. It just seems like, you're on you're
Oh, no. We're here to talk about you.
I miss NEPA, so I don't get to see you guys that much anymore. But we can
No.
absolutely talk about me.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I cut you off. Like I said, when I paused real quick, my daughter woke up. My wife's at a work function, so trying to do a balancing act with the kids and this and all that kind of stuff. And I apologize. I kind of cut you off towards the end of there about you're talking about the new record and just kind of means a lot to you. And obviously it's newer, so it's something you've been more attached to because it's newer.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's definitely an attachment. I feel so blessed to have been able to make this because about 3 years ago, almost to the day. Actually, John, it is 3 years ago to the day. I had There was a bit of a health emergency in my life, and I had to something going on with my esophagus. And so I met with a doctor here in Erie, and he, knowing that I was a singer, he reassured me. He's like, we're gonna go in and we're gonna check things out, but your voice might change and you might notice a deeper tone. But we're going nowhere near your chords. But yeah, I when things like that happen to you, you you kind of snap to attention, and I thought to myself, well, I'm still here, so I still have work to do. And my sister, Renee, she's going to be upset with me because I'm giving her too much credit. But, you know, back in August of 2021, she was the one that recommended that I make a record because she had shared with me that she noticed that the light and the spark was gone from my eyes, and she had trouble recognizing her own brother. So she said, no matter what you have to do, you know, get over with Brett, give him a hug, sniff the fumes, whatever it takes. But I think it's time that you make a record. And it was her, that initial push that really, I was like, yeah, I've been slacking and I have to find a way to make something new, but I didn't want it to feel forced.
Forced, yeah.
It had to be on my time. And eventually I it became a thing. And so very, very grateful to have this piece of work out because I was in a state at one point where health-wise I wasn't doing very well. And mentally I was stuck as well. And I think just the inspiration of NEPA and my connection with all of you and the Badleys, um, y'all just kind of lit a fire under my ass and got me moving. And so I thank you all, that whole region, really, truly.
Yeah, talk to me about your whole, musical journey in general, because you're living in Erie now, but you're born and raised in NEPA?
Yes, indeed. Born in Kingston at Nesbitt Hospital when it was Nesbitt Hospital. And then I was raised in a town called West Pittston. So, back when going to Kmart was a big deal.
Yeah,
We're going to Kmart.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and like I think childhood was great. Um, s- three brothers and two sisters, big family.
Oh, wow. I didn't
So
realize that.
no, a lot of people don't, but I was really fortunate because all of those, each brother and each sister, they all provided their own, they gave me such a strong musical bedrock, all these different influences that helped them, they passed those down. For example, my brothers gave me all the 80s hair bands, Ozzy Osbourne, Winger, the Scorpions, all those guys. And then my mother introduced me to Tina Turner and Whitney Houston and all of that genre. And then, you know, Dawn was huge. I mean, gave me Michael Jackson and all of that. And then when it came time for me to find what Ed was into, that was about, I'd say, 90, 91, where I started to do my own exploring. And that's where I discovered The Cure, Natalie Merchant, Michael Stipe. I started to discover the voices that would stay with me until now, I'm 46 now. So all those voices are still with me.
You're 46?
I am.
Get going.
Yeah.
Get going.
What I thought I always looked older with this gray hair now.
No, you look great. Were
Thank
any of
you.
your siblings also musicians, or was that just kind of your thing?
Um, nobody nobody really stepped forward as proper musician, but Don was the one that would take me to concerts and, you know, carry me through horse crap at Pocono Downs and everything else to see those shows. And Dawn always made sure that there was a show to go and see because she really got a kick out of watching me and the excitement that music would create. So she exposed me to, I got to meet the Badleys through my sister. And it's just so strange that, like, I've known Brett for 30 years total, but I've worked with him as a musician for half of that.
Mhm.
And it's just an interesting turn of events. I mean, when I started hanging out with the Badleys and getting to know those guys, I never thought in a million years I'd be eventually working with one of the most beautiful people on the planet. And he's definitely been very much a paternal figure in my life. I mean,
Mhm.
he's right up there with my parents.
We're talking about Brett Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
He's had a huge
Yeah,
impact on a lot of people, and he's like one of the most humble people I've ever met.
he really is. He really
Um,
is. And we when we were gonna make this record, I was with him for like 7 weeks. And he I don't know, he has a way of whoever he's working with, he gives 100% of himself to the artist. I mean, you have him at your disposal when you're there, and it's like, wow. And it's never lost on me. Even this last time, it felt like the first time again. Like when I walked in the studio after so many years, it felt new and fresh. And he it was these sessions were some of the best sessions I've ever had. I mean, I wish they were documented because we had so much fun
yeah.
together and it flew by. It was over. And I knew that we had a very finite amount of time. So I guess that was partly why it pushed me to be my best because we only had 7 weeks. And I thought, if I don't get this now, I'm not getting it.
Mhm.
And that record is the result of a of a really cool friendship between two people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that he does? Maybe someone's listening to this and thinking like, oh, I've been considering working with a producer and things like that. What makes Brett, outside of giving him, 100% of himself to the project, like what else does he do? Like, people, I forget, I think I'm sure musicians get this, but like people, like the common man or common woman, like they play a huge part.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. He he's the he's the outside. He's literally the soundboard, and he's the outside set of ears, and he's he's there, and I mean he's the objective person in the room who is trying to um he's what Brett does is he magnifies in the artist what's already present, but he brings it completely out into the open. And the artist is not afraid to do that. There's such a warmth and a safety in the studio with him. And he just has this way of making the artist feel totally at home, totally at ease, and able to give their best performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have him.
Yes, we are. I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody else working with me. And I've been approached and I've been asked, have you ever thought about working with someone else, etc. And I thought, why would I do that? Why in hell would I mess with it's such a cohesive relationship. I often say that he's the um he's the lightning and I'm the thunder,
Hmm.
and it's a really nice partnership, and he's always looked he's always looked after me
Yeah.
in his own way, on and off the stage. He's had to rescue me from falling off stages several times, because I get into it and I forget that I'm on a high stage, and he's had to pull me back by the belt loops, and get me so I don't go crashing down. He's just a lovely man, and I can't really say anything new that anyone else has shared, because he's just, I mean, and you've been around him, you've spent time.
Yeah.
He's the best, and we we worked extra hard on this project, and he even told me, he's like, I knew that this body of work was really special, so I spent extra time on it because the material was that good.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what was it like? You're growing up, your sister's introducing you to the Badleys, you're getting to know these guys. What was it like to, you know, actually work with someone like Brett, like for the first time, you know?
First time, um, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When you get that email and you get that yes that he wants to see you, I I was, butterflies instantly, like, okay, you got your wish. You got to be careful what you wish for, because you got it. Now you have to show up fully, and you have to make sure that you bring it. And I remember him saying to me, initially, he said, because for the people that don't know, that are listening to your podcast, I also live with cerebral palsy, which is a neurological disability that affects muscle control and spasticity and things like that. And I remember him saying to me when we first met, I was he was helping me down his steps, and he said to me, he said, I don't care how you walk. Could you sing? As long as you could sing, we're good. And so he doesn't, when you're around him, he's like the great equalizer. If you're in a room with, five musicians, everything is equalized in that moment, and everybody is on the same plane. And he just has that way about him. And yeah, like that first time. I will never forget it because those first sessions were really special. And these sessions were pretty similar because we hadn't seen each other in quite a while and worked together in maybe 5 years, technically. And we missed each other terribly. So I think when you listen to this, you hear the urgency in my voice. You hear like almost, it's almost like I was let out of a cage. You know, I was put away for a while and I was set free during the making of this record.
Yeah. What and it's funny because I didn't know that you worked with Brett on this, but like before I listened to it, but the minute I started listening, I was like, Brett's on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool that he has a certain sound and the Badleys have a certain sound.
Hmm.
And I think that that's really special and unique. And I think that's any artist's goal to have their own sound. I mean, you know a Guns N' Roses song when it's on.
Right.
You know a Bill Withers song when it's playing. You know Elton John. You because they all have their styles. And so I hope for myself that I hope that I'm at that point now after 15 years of doing this. I hope that I've developed a sound that people can recognize.
I was gonna say you definitely like your voice is like your I think your calling card. Like your voice is unique, and I don't know exactly in what way, but it's definitely like I know that Ed is singing.
Well, that's
Um,
really nice.
yeah, it's and speaking of that, like when did you start singing? Like, did that just something that came natural to you? Like, how did that all kind of come about?
Um, it it wasn't natural. It was, I would say, going back to the family dynamic, and you and I, you and I were raised with the village mentality,
Hmm.
where it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So I think with my abilities, it was a mixture of elementary school teachers, and my family just being there, being available, and not trying to turn it off. If I was if I was being expressive, they let me express, and it wasn't always music per se, but I knew at a young age when I sang, it wasn't very good, mind you. But when I did sing, it felt different. It felt like, oh, this is a way that I could express things in a healthy way and then maybe move people. But I didn't realize that music was that until about God, Popko. I came in, in all honesty, I came to the singing party a little late, I would say, like late 90s, where I started to go to karaoke with friends and try it and see, I'm not a karaoke snob. That's where I started to test things out. And I remember being in elementary school when they had the spring concerts and different things. I would try out for the singing parts. Again, not great, but I would still try out just to push myself. And it was, like I said, it was a combination of really great teachers and a really fun family dynamic. I remember, like, at a very early age, I would be in a high chair with a bolster in between my legs so I couldn't fall out of the high chair because
Hmm.
I would get so like riled up that I would shake the chair and stuff. But I remember the women in my family, my mom and my two sisters, they would to to get me excited, they would sing the Itsy Bitsy Spider in harmony. And they said I would pound on the tray and I'd be kicking my legs, and it just made me happy. And so they would do it all the time. And we tell that story over and over. And it's really how I got started. I got started because people wanted me to do well. And I think that's one of the things that I love about NEPA and that I miss about NEPA is that everybody, there's so many solo artists and bands and groups and duos in NEPA, and I've never noticed it to be a competition.
Mhm.
Everybody in that little, well, it's not so little, but everybody in that that nucleus of music, everybody's supportive of each other, and I love that. I mean, you've got the annual Steamtown Music Awards that takes place, and everybody shows up on everybody else's records, and people show up and do duets at wherever, people get together and collaborate. And NEPA is a very special place.
Yeah.
And I mean, how can I not be inspired to sing coming from a place like NEPA?
Yeah.
That's the real
Yeah.
question.
Well, I don't think it was always like that. I think it's more like that now than ever before. But I mean, I think 20 plus years ago, it was like it wasn't that collaborative. I think that's kind of like a new thing within the last like 10-ish years, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I would agree because remember when it wasn't common for groups to have albums pressed and made. You had a few,
Hmm.
and it was like, oh wow, like they've got records made.
Yeah.
Um, and now it's pretty inexpensive where if you want to get your EP pressed or your record done, you can do so. I mean, I know that right now streaming is the dominant thing, but people still like that physical disc or vinyl in their hands.
Dude, I was so pumped when I got your CD in the mail. That might have been the first CD that I've held in a long time.
I don't know, dude. I was really proud of it because when it's physical and you could hold it, it's like, oh, it's not just air
Right.
in someone's cloud or whatever. It's like I have the physical thing I could hold, and it means a lot to me. And this record, I don't know, I really wanted to make this record special, so I took my time with the look of it and the sound of it, and I wanted it to be when you got that box and opened it, I wanted it to be a wow factor, like, wow, cool. So I'm glad that you felt that way.
Yeah. The cover image, is that an actual picture? Obviously there's a picture, but so do you know the photographer that took that?
Um, yes, his name is, and oh my God, I'm gonna murder his name. And I'm sorry to the widow, but he is considered the godfather of railroad photography, Richard Steinheimer. And I came across his work firstly from an organization called the Center for Railroad Photography and Art. And I started visiting the website. They're a nonprofit organization, and it's built on donations, but there are collection after collection after collection of railroad images from all of these photographers around the country and around the world. And so when it came time to pair the music with an image, I I just spent so much time on this website just looking for the image that would capture this music. And it needed to have a darkness to it, but it also needed to have urgency, and it needed to be shadowy and kind of kind of spooky. So when I saw this image, I just knew that it was the image, and I reached out to the organization and I made up a mock of what the cover would look like, and they were so pleased with it that they just gifted me the photograph.
Oh wow.
And Richard's widow saw it as well, and I got everyone's blessing. So, and the cover has made an impact on people. You're definitely not the first person to make note of it.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's just the area we live in, and we're a coal mining town, and older town. Um, Trains have this weird thing about them. I don't know what it is. I used to live in a house that had tracks right behind it for an active train, and I'd always see people like standing out at the same time every day, like having the tripod set up, waiting for the trains to come.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about trains, like trains and train stations and things like that. It's like I don't know, man. It's like this connection that I feel like we all have to a degree, but I don't know why. I don't know if it's just
Yeah.
because they're part of our lives or they're still like I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but it's like weird.
When you were, let me ask you, when you were you know, a young kid in grade school, did did you, when you first saw it, were you into trains or were you
Uh
into,
yeah, I mean, I guess we always put a train up at Christmas time under the tree.
yeah,
I don't say I was around trains as a young boy. Um 'Cause I grew up in the country. Um I don't think I'm trying to think of like the closest tracks even from where I grew up. Um they weren't like close by, obviously.
yeah.
But I
So
don't know.
you don't remember like having a moment like with a train going like, whoa.
I mean, I'm sure I had one. Like, I mean, they're kind of like as when you're little too, like they're like larger than life, right?
They
Um,
are. Yeah,
but
they really
yeah,
are.
I couldn't tell you like the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific moment either. I just know, like, when I was finishing this project up, I asked my father whether or not the family introduced the idea of trains to me, or if it was something that I gravitated towards on my own, and they just fostered it and like started buying me things. And my dad said, he's like, no, that was all you, and we just went with it because you were always pointing and wanting to to have one. And he'd be like, we'd be at a crossing and you'd be watching and
Yeah.
amazed by them. So I guess the reason why it's so central to this project is because for me, making this record was, I was healing myself. I was healing myself of my own frustration as an adult, struggling in the world and trying to recapture a childlike innocence.
Hmm.
So obviously the train is connected to my childhood in such a deep and meaningful way that I knew that when songs started to come together, there was that theme of the train going through. And Brett actually made a comment at some point. He said, you've essentially made a concept record because you've got a beginning, middle, and an end
Hmm.
about this man that's going on this journey, you know, whether it's like a single day or, but there's this idea of time passing by, and this guy's growing older, and you know, there's what do you what feelings come to the surface when you listen to this?
Um, I almost felt like a story was being told for sure, right? Um, but it had this old soul vibe to it, if
Oh, I
that
love
makes
that you say
sense.
that. Yeah, I think it is a very it's a modern record, but the song just the
Yeah,
sonic value sounds, hundreds of years old
yeah.
at times. And I think that has a lot to do with Brett and the way that he knows how to, he knows how to mic me. He knows where to place me. And I'm always, you know, there's nothing solo about any of my records. My name's on the front of it, but you open this thing up and every name that's in here, they they played a part.
Hmm.
And I'm in awe every time I open it, and I'm like, wow, look at all these people, and they're there to help you be your best self. And so, um,
And who were they?
yeah, what's that?
Who were some of them?
Oh my gosh. Well, every amazing musician that was on here that agreed to be with me and go on this journey with me. And again, that village mentality, um, my family, and I think too, Popko, being away from home, this was a way to connect back
Reconnect.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, reconnect exactly. So when I listen back to it and I hear Brett playing, or I hear Ron Samasik playing drums, it's like they're here with me in the room, and I don't have to miss them as much because whenever I want them, I could put them on. And so, yeah, I think I can't really pick out like one influence. I think I'm gonna just stick with the village mentality that
Sure.
it takes, I'm on the shoulders of everybody that got me to this point. So, and just to have the record as a like, ooh, I have something to show for my effort.
Yeah.
Look what we've done. Um,
Well,
couldn't be happier.
I'm glad that Renee kind of called you out to a degree,
She totally did.
you know?
Like
I mean,
not
it's
subtle either.
yeah, well, I mean, life is a challenge, right? Especially the world we live in now, and there's different circumstances for everyone. But when you kind of cave in on yourself, like it could get really dark. So it's good to have those people around you that are like, yo, like yeah, let's go. We need to where's that at, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, if she hadn't laid that first idea, I don't know what would have gone on, but I'll tell you what, I don't believe in accidents. Like she had said to me, she said, you have to, well, and you should in a way just pretend that this is already made as a way to manifest that it's already done and you just have to go and make it. So, but I have to be honest with you. I mean, right before I went over to be with Brett for 7 weeks, I panicked, John, and I was like, oh, I'm not ready, and I called Brett to tell him that I wasn't ready, and he said, well, we'll
Too late.
figure it out next week.
Yeah.
So he wasn't he would not allow me to back out, which was the best thing. He was like, nope, it's booked.
Yep.
So I had to really dig and make sure that I made the most of those 7 weeks because, like I said earlier, they flew by.
Yeah. Well, we need another record from Ed, and you need to like have video documentation of it, the next one.
I would love it.
You got to
I
do it.
really would. I think it would be, it was, there was an idea to do some of that, but in a way, I'm glad it didn't happen because I feel like the studio time is so intimate between like,
Sacred, yeah.
and it is, it's very sacred. And I would have, I don't think the performances would have been the same had there been somebody in the, like lurking in the dark with a camera. I
Sure.
don't,
I get
so
that.
I'm great. I'm happy that things turned out the way they did. That said, people again, they're like, well, Ed, where's your face on the cover? We want to see you. And you open this thing up and you're seeing the back of my head.
Hmm.
So I have this thing about um, showing myself. And this right now is so interesting because usually I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna be on camera. This is so uncomfortable, but it's you. So I don't feel uncomfortable.
Good. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
you shouldn't. No, but like
absolutely.
you're right. A camera in the room would change, right? Because it would just you would know it was there. You would try and maybe overdo something or maybe overthink something. But like just have someone put like a GoPro in there and just kind of just catch like just BS
Yeah.
stuff or something. I think it's important to have documentation of things. And I wish I had more of myself and I wish I had more even an audio thing of like my father, who passed away almost 20 years ago. Like I think that's what was cool about, creators in general, like whether it's arts, like paintings and music and doing podcasts and all these things that we do that we kind of put ourselves out there to be vulnerable and kind of expose ourselves to critics and whoever they might be. Like this is going to live on for so much longer than us. And it's like something that like, my kids can watch or listen to, when I'm gone, hopefully years and
Yeah,
years and years from now. But like it's kind of a cool thing to be able to leave behind.
I think so. I think so. And I'll tell you, I am so proud of this project, and I'm glad it's going to be part of what I leave behind. It's like, wow, I did that thing. It was
Yeah.
just, I think about the sessions still, and I'm like, wow, we had a blast. We really did.
And you did it too. Like there's so many people out there who are probably thinking about, oh, I wish I would start this or I wish I would have done that. And like, maybe they're, old and sick and they're like, oh man, there was so many things I wish I could have done or I should have done. And it's like, that's a terrible thing to think about, right? Like what ifs?
Yeah, I mean, you look, everybody has the thing that drives them, and I don't know, I just knew I had to get to work.
Yeah.
And then, when it's finally out, that day came, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this has been with me for 3 years. This is 3 years of my life is on
Hmm.
this little 5-inch disc,
Yeah.
you know? And but then I get to talk about it and I get to like I get to sit with you and you've worked so hard on your shows and your projects and the support that you give us on the radio every week. So it's a two-way street, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. It's something that it's like my favorite thing to do, like this and the radio show. I don't think I would be back at that station if they hadn't also said, we want you to come back to, 'cause my primary job is sales, but we want you to come back and also we want you to host a local show again. I don't think I would have gone back.
What what was the catalyst for you to get back behind the mic?
Um, well, I I just think I'm a media guy at the end of the day. I mean, I started at the Weekender way back when. That's how I got into all this is I don't think I ever thought I would be in media and it just kind of happened. And I remember well when that show started initially back in 2017 it was called Alt Natives. That was an accident. That was pure luck. It was a new PD from Detroit came in and he kind of had his hands on the station and I had mentioned to him about, we should do a local show. We're locally owned and operated. We should do a local show. And um, he's like, yeah, we should. And I used to do one at my stations back in Detroit. He's like, why don't you do it? And I was like, no chance, dude. I can't even talk. I can't talk without mumbling. You can't put me on the radio. Um, and he just like looked at me and said, "There's no one else better for the job, and you'll figure it out." And
And you did.
I joke to this day, I'm still trying to figure it out. But
Uh,
when it got canceled 3 years into it because the station flipped, I remember thinking to myself, was like, I think I need the scene more than they need me. I was like, how do I
mm.
stay involved? How do I stay a part of it? Like, how do I continue to like give these artists a platform? And I was like, well, I'll just keep doing the podcast, which I was kind of doing with the radio show prior. But I was just kind of like recording on Zoom and then just posting the video on Facebook. So with this, I really wanted to make it, available on Spotify and everywhere,
Yeah.
and just make it a good solid effort and try and get really great artists and kind of just build this thing where if people I don't know are going to release a new album or they're doing whatever, whether it's musically or just entertainment wise, like they think about me and say, we got to get on his show because he does a good job helping promote what we're doing. So that's kind of the
That's what I
goal.
did. I reached out.
And I'm so happy you did. It just that's just kind of how this all came together.
Yeah, and I think push comes to shove when we're when we get up to that plate, okay, we can turn it on. Like you talked about, well, I don't belong on radio because I mumble. But I'm sure when you were behind that mic for the first time, you had to dig inside yourself and figure out, okay, what's my sound? How am I going to project? How do I do this? You figured it out,
Yeah.
you know?
I still had that first recording from back in 2017, and I listened to it from time to time just to kind of see, how far I've come and how much further I need to go. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it was it was
it's
an interesting
it's
first show.
wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure. I remember being at Marywood University in the late 90s, and of course I gravitated towards radio, and I had my own show on
Cool.
Saturday night, and I played all women in music, whether it was a female solo artist or a female fronted band. No shock there. And, my first time on the air, I remember I specifically picked the longest tracks so I didn't have to talk that much.
Nice.
I was so nervous, but I remember my advisor coming to me later on in the semester and he said, I caught your show last week. And he said, you're really good on the air. Like you know how to talk about what you passionate about
Hmm.
and you're engaging and you have a dynamic. And he said, you're really fun to listen to. And then that was my that was my original plan to like go toward radio. And then, it just the passion for it didn't stick with me and I wasn't sustained by it. So it fell by the wayside. But I feel like I get to still use my voice
Yeah.
in this way. And then here in Erie, I'm using my voice for healing in a non-musical way with the job that I do here in in the city of Erie. So the voice has always been the tool
Yeah.
to either move people, um, you know, ignite people,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
I always say, I feel like I say at least every episode or every other episode that people are put on this earth to do certain things. Whether that is, a musician with, you know, powerful moving songs and that, that people can relate to or that people listen to that almost like saves them to a degree, or you know what you do outside of music that is helping people. Or if you're, a person that works with children with disabilities and things like that, like there's all these different avenues that are hard things to do. And there's certain people that are put here to do them.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I growing up growing up in, um when I was really young, I started school at the age of 2 when United Cerebral Palsy was in Clark Summit. And I remembered I still remember those teachers that were there to help us and build us up. And it, you know, Popko, it's really true. People that are in those roles, I mean, that to me is God's work.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
really, like that kind of role, or nurses and
Hmm.
teachers, um, and musicians. But I think, we all, I mean, I guess without getting, you know, religious or whatever, I think we all can do the good work in
Yeah.
our jobs. Whether it's being a custodian or whether it's being a brain surgeon, there's there's a
Yeah.
spot for every person.
I'm glad you said that. I'm not trying to discredit other things, um, but yeah, it's kind of weird how we're all doing something to hopefully
Yeah.
make the world a better place.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember, like, to get back to the train thing, when I was in grade school in Exeter, I remember there was a custodian that worked at the school that, and this was back in the day when there wasn't a lot of fear with people. It was a lot more open. Um, you can attest to this as well, I'm sure. But there was a custodian at the school, and he knew I liked trains. So every Christmas around this time of year, he would take me over to his house. He'd have this beautiful display in his house, and I'd go over. And my mother would be with me, and I remember he was just so, I don't know, he had an impact on me because he recognized that I loved these machines. They brought me joy, and he made sure that he was part of that joy. And those are the people that I remember.
Yeah.
And we all have people like that, whether it's our favorite coach or a teacher, or we all have people like that.
Yeah.
In how about in your life? Like, was there somebody, or I'm sure there's a lot, but was there maybe one person where you're like, oh wow, the world is decent, and that's a decent guy, or anybody pop out for you?
Honestly, and I hate to even say it, but like not exactly. I'm trying to think of even going back to high school with certain coaches, like they were all pretty bad. Um, I don't, there's I guess colleagues have been along the way. Like, I remember when I was interning at the Weekender, there was a guy by the name of Joe Student who was the editor, and I was an intern, and he was just this cool guy. Like he was like this roll up your sleeves, get shit done, don't take any shit from anybody. I'll never forget the moment. So there was the Weekender, and there was the Diamond City and Electric City. And I think it was a grocery store. Something happened where maybe a driver called off or something. So the Weekenders needed to be delivered. You remember the Weekender, right?
Oh yeah,
It was like the Bible of like where to go, who to see, drink specials,
it
all that.
was. It was.
So, I mean, if people didn't get their Weekenders, like, the Turkey Hills, the grocery stores, the bars that were advertisers in it, if they didn't get them, they were calling us saying, hey, like, where are the
Here's
Weekenders?
our paper.
Yeah. And it was a free paper. It wasn't like they even paid for it. I mean, they paid for their ads, obviously, but like people would rush to the newsstands on a Wednesday morning to get these things. So driver called off. Joe's student, he's like, "Hey, come with me. We're gonna deliver some newspapers." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Nice.
And he, again, like I said, it's the guy roll up his sleeves, get shit done. I remember him walking into the grocery store. He had gone in with a stack of weekenders, and he came out with a stack of things as well. And I was like, "What the hell is he doing?" He opens the back of the van and he throws the stack of like a bundle of papers into the back of the van, like mad. I'm like, yo, what's going on? I guess either the Diamond City or the Electric City had put their stack of their papers in our rack.
Oh yeah.
He's
This
like,
wasn't the Weekender like red,
yeah, it was red
right?
and black and white, yeah. But someone had, yeah, I guess they put their newspapers on our rack, and he's like, not today. And that was all. That was just like an
Would.
amazing, like that was a cool thing to see. And I still talk to him occasionally to this day. Um, and then I'll never forget when I went when I went back to the radio stations the second time, because this is my third stint at the radio stations. When I went back the second time, I worked for a guy. His name was Steve. Well, his name is Steve Borneman. Um, and he was the first boss that like left when I was still working there that I was like genuinely upset over him leaving. Just because he was like a really great leader. He was just this really great like he created this culture where you didn't want to let him down. You wanted to win for him and your colleagues every day.
I love that.
And he didn't do it by, being an asshole or being demanding, or he just kind of like you knew that he expected you to do your job and you went out and did it. And always very supportive and always very like just um it was I'm glad I went back the second time to work for him.
Well, good. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't believe in accidents. And so the fact that you're where you are at, not a huge surprise.
For the third time. Yeah, well, I was actually at Axelrad for a little while there. I know
I yeah.
I know you're friends with Deirdre and Dave. Um
Oh, I love them.
and that was, I mean, that was a great time too. I mean, I respect Dave and Matt for what they built over there, because like I saw it when it was just like on Kingston Corners, when it was just like one press in the room, and seeing it what it is today. It's just it's so crazy.
Yeah, it's so like and I've always been like a cheerleader for anything over there. I mean, it's just amazing what we have there. Every time I visit, because I get over that way quite a bit more than I thought I would, and it's always so difficult to leave because I'm like, ah, these are my roots, and it's like I have to go over to Erie, because it's like I have roots on both sides of the state now, but
Yeah.
NEPA will always have my heart for sure.
Ed, come back. You can come back.
Well, I'm there quite a bit. One of the most amazing things, well, there's been plenty, but I remember going back, one of the first times I went back after moving here, in 2018, I went back and I walked into a restaurant and somebody said, "Oh my God, that's Ed Randazzo." And they cleared the table and and then they ushered me over to this table and I was just like, and then a total stranger bought my lunch. And I was just like, that told me that what I had done in NEPA and left in NEPA had an impact on the area. That was huge. It was huge.
Yeah.
I'll
What
never forget
restaurant do you
that.
miss the most?
What restaurant do I miss the most? I would say like pizza joint DeMiro's on William Street
Okay.
in
Yeah.
Pittston.
I just had that last
Um,
week.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing. And I would say like restaurant wise, I used to I used to live at Agolino's in Weston. I was there quite a bit. So I genuinely miss it though, because I played on those streets
Hmm.
until the streetlights came on. And a lot of people are like gone and coming back and leaving again, but it was time for me to spread my wings and explore. And I don't have regrets at all. I think to be able to go back there and call that home is such a privilege. It will always be home.
Yeah, of
It
course.
will always be home.
So I know you just released a new record, right? But what's in store for Ed Randazzo? I mean, today is December 3rd. This probably won't come out for like a week and a half. Um, so we're closing in on end of the year here. We're going into 2025, like which is wild to even think about and say out loud.
Ooh, crazy.
But
I
I
think
mean, what's going on in 2025? I mean, whether it could be personally, it could be musically, it could be, whatever.
well, I think first of all, this 2024, I don't even like it just
Yeah.
flew by. I hope I had fun. I have a couple memories that stick out. But yeah, we are on the threshold of a new year. I can't believe that. Well, musically, interestingly enough, in 2025, it'll be 10th the 10th anniversary of my last record, which was If You Don't Bring Me Joy, Be On Your Way. So I'm sure we'll do something to celebrate that anniversary. Um, and you know what? I just want to continue first part of the new year. I want to continue to push this and get this in as many pairs of hands as I could
Hmm.
because it's a really good project. But I look forward to 2025 because I've climbed the ladder in my current job here in Erie. So I'm excited to see what that new role looks like and sounds like. And I have a pretty good existence. I think I'm a man who has always tried to remain in a state of gratitude as much as I could, despite hardships and conditions of the world. I try to still operate from the place of, well, my body still works for me. I can navigate the world pretty much independently. Um, as I'm getting a little older, I'm snapping and cracking and popping more often. And that's not always fun. But I think the future is bright, and I look forward to hopefully not having as long of a gap between releases. Um, between this one and the last one was 9 years, and so let's not have that happen again.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just, when the inspiration shows up and the my team shows up again, which I know they will, when it's time to do something else, I'll make sure that you're in the know.
Great. And you're old school, right? So I think like, you recording full length records is probably important to you. But like you said before, like we live in a digital and streaming age. Um, have you considered just kind of recording, a couple songs, releasing them, so so that way it's quicker than, 9 years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just have to, there's this idea, I've been toying with it for quite a while. It's turned into a little bit of a joke now, but when I started singing Popko, I started singing jazz. When I'd go up to the Woodlands on Friday night with my mom, and they'd have jazz night with Marty Edwards and
Oh yeah.
that band that band. And Marty would invite me up to do some jazz standards. So I've always toyed with the idea of maybe doing a jazz record and calling it Jazz Does Jazz or something, something like that. And just really go back to the musical roots of what I started to really enjoy about music, which was jazz. That might put some people off and have some people scratching their heads like, really?
Hmm.
But I think that's what's exciting about music is,
Yeah.
especially in this sort of conversation, when you get to talk about things in a deeper way, um, things like this pop up in conversation.
Yeah.
Like Ed likes jazz.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always find it
So
amazing, like the influences that people have, outside of the genre that they might be like performing in, just kind of their background, like what influenced them, and just kind of like music that they like. Because so many times it's like not stuff that you would think of.
yeah, I think that's cool though.
But
And I think again, it goes back to those elementary school programs that they used to put on.
yeah,
I was, as a young kid, I was exposed to so much music, like older music and classic music. That's when I first learned about Billie Holiday and the Andrew Sisters and Doris Day and those type of songs. And so I don't know, a jazz record is definitely a possibility. Um, I'd love to just put on a really nice suit, black and white photo session and just slick my hair back and get rid
sure.
of this mop that I have now and just
No.
just right to the right to the hilt and right to 10 and really commit to it,
Yeah.
but I have to, again, it's up to me to just commit, have to want to do it, and once I decide, there's no turning back. Just like with this record, once it started to take form, it was really hard to stop the momentum. It's like, okay, it's out of the bag now. We have to finish it.
Yeah.
So that's usually when I know it's time to make a project, is when there's a certain momentum that I can't get in front of, or it's gonna run me over.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's got out. I'm glad you got that push from your sister. I feel foolish not knowing that the song that I like the most was a cover, not one of your own. Please don't hold that against me.
I do not. I've actually, it's actually great that that particular song pops out because it's, I think there's a lot of overtly political material on this record, and I thought maybe it would put people off, perhaps. So obviously it hasn't with
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. No, it's great. I think you said that you feel like it's your best work yet, and I'd have to probably agree with that sentiment. Um, so yeah, so let's not wait another, what, 9 years?
Yeah, let's not do that. I
All
don't want to
right.
do that either.
All right. I want to talk to you at length again in less than 9 years.
Good.
Um, but I will let you go. It's a work night. I'm sure I don't want to keep you too long. But thank you
Work
for
night
reaching
for me
out.
as well.
Thanks for you know, taking an interest in this. And um you've always been, like I said, we haven't talked a lot outside of this. Um, but I just always
Hey,
knew like you're this nice, like genuine, good person.
oh, dude, hold on one second. My my lights are on a timer.
There you go.
That
Nice.
that was my bedtime, I guess.
Well, your time for bed. Well, but yeah, you've always been this just like this humble, like just always smiling, always positive, always um just a pleasure to be around. And I'm looking forward to you coming back to NEPA. Maybe you'll maybe perform or something. I don't know,
Oh yes.
but
Brett
keep me in the
always
loop.
Brett is always open and willing to put me on some stage.
Good. Good. Well, keep me in the loop.
All right, thank you, pal. Thanks for all you do.
Ed, thank you so much. Enjoy the holidays, and I will talk to you soon.
You too, brother.
All
Thanks.
right. Later.
Later.